Picture this. You wake up, already feeling the weight of the day pressing on your chest. You scroll through emails before even brushing your teeth, your heart racing with deadlines you can't meet. You tell yourself it's fine, you're fine. At work you swallow your frustration when a colleague takes credit for your idea. Later, you smile politely while your family asks for favors you don't have the energy to give. By the time you're finally alone, you're exhausted. Maybe your back aches. Maybe your stomach churns, but you push it aside and collapse into bed. Tomorrow will be the same. This is not an unusual story. For millions of people, ignoring stress has become a way of life. We normalize it. We even glorify it. But physician and author Gabor Maté issues a stark warning. Stress that is denied or buried does not go away. It festers inside the body, slowly undermining health. As he explains in When the Body Says No, chronic emotional repression can fuel autoimmune disease, cancer, heart problems, and more. In his words, the body keeps the score when the mind refuses to. This video explores Mate's core argument that repressed stress is a silent killer. We'll look at the biology of stress, the psychology of repression, real clinical cases, the cultural systems that reward self-denial, the long-term medical consequences, and finally, the pathways to healing. Stress is not just an emotional inconvenience, it's a matter of survival. And unless we learn to face it honestly, it will slowly destroy us from within. The biology of stress, the stress response system. At its root, stress is not psychological, it's biological. When the brain perceives danger, whether it's a tiger in the wild or a looming work deadline, it activates the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal HPA axis. This triggers the release of adrenaline and cortisol, hormones that prepare the body to fight, flee, or freeze. Blood pressure rises, the heart pumps faster, muscles tighten, and energy is diverted to short-term survival functions. This is a brilliant design for escaping predators. But in the modern world, where threats are rarely physical and rarely resolved quickly, the stress response often never turns off. Chronic activation and damage. Prolonged activation of stress hormones wreaks havoc. Cortisol suppresses the immune system to conserve energy, leaving the body vulnerable to infections and slower healing. Adrenaline keeps the heart in overdrive, raising the risk of hypertension and heart disease. The digestive system suffers as blood flow is diverted away, leading to gut inflammation and disorders like irritable bowel syndrome. Neuroscience research shows chronic stress even reshapes the brain, shrinking the hippocampus, critical for memory, and enlarging the amygdala, the fear center. Stress, in other words, is not just in your head, it rewires and damages your entire body. The hidden danger of suppression. Here is where Mate adds an important insight. Stress is not only damaging when it happens, but even more damaging when it is repressed. When someone acknowledges stress, say by crying, venting, or taking a break, the nervous system has an outlet. But when someone forces themselves to smile, insists they're fine, or avoids confrontation, the stress remains stuck in the body. This means cortisol and adrenaline continue circulating, even when there is no outward sign of distress. Over time, this silent storm erodes health more effectively than any single stressful event could. The psychology of repression. Childhood roots. Why do people repress stress instead of expressing it? Matt points to childhood. Children depend completely on caregivers for love and survival. If a child's anger, sadness, or fear is met with rejection, "Stop crying, don't be angry, good kids don't make trouble," the child learns that authentic emotions threaten connection. Since attachment is necessary for survival, the child suppresses authenticity to keep love. Over time, this adaptation hardens into a personality style. The person becomes agreeable, selfless, and outwardly calm, even when boiling inside. The cost of being good. Adults who grew up repressing emotions often seem like the nicest people, always helpful, always composed, never a burden. But inside, their needs remain unacknowledged, even by themselves. Maté notes a striking pattern among his patients. Many with serious illnesses were those who never got angry, who always put others first. This is not a coincidence. Constantly silencing emotions sends the body into long-term stress mode, and the price is paid in physical health. Being good at the expense of authenticity is often deadly. Repression as unconscious habit. It's important to emphasize that repression is not usually conscious. Most people are not deliberately hiding their stress, they genuinely believe they are fine. This is what makes it so insidious. A person who admits stress can take steps to manage it. A person who denies it has no outlet. Maté calls this the blindness of self-sacrifice. People sacrifice their needs so automatically that they don't even notice the stress piling up until their body collapses. Case studies and clinical evidence. The cancer connection. In When the Body Says No, Maté describes patients with cancer who shared a personality profile. They avoided conflict, suppressed anger, and prioritized others' needs. One woman with breast cancer had spent years caring for a difficult husband, never once voicing her resentment. Another patient, diagnosed with melanoma, was known as the nicest guy in the office, always accommodating, never argumentative. While cancer cannot be reduced to stress alone, Maté highlights how emotional repression weakens the immune system's ability to detect and destroy malignant cells. Autoimmune illness and stress. Autoimmune diseases provide another striking example. In conditions like multiple sclerosis, lupus, or rheumatoid arthritis, the immune system mistakenly attacks the body's own tissues. Maté argues that chronic stress and emotional suppression prime this misfiring response. He cites patients who endured years of caretaking stress, abusive environments, or silent suffering before their diagnoses. Stress dysregulates the immune system, making it confused about friend versus foe, sometimes turning that aggression inward. Clinical patterns. What makes these stories compelling is not just their drama, but their consistency. Over and over, Maté saw patients with serious illnesses who shared the same traits. They could not say no. They carried hidden burdens. They denied their stress. He insists this pattern is not coincidence, but evidence of a mind-body link ignored by mainstream medicine. Where conventional doctors see random bad luck, Maté sees a lifetime of repression expressed through disease, societal and cultural pressures, productivity and denial. It is not only individuals who repress stress, society itself rewards it. Western culture glorifies busyness and stoicism. To admit stress or vulnerability is seen as weakness. Workplaces praise employees who take on more than they can handle without complaint. Families admire the selfless mother who never rests. Men are told to man up, women are told to be nice, and everyone is told to keep it together. Under these cultural scripts, repression is not just common, it's expected. Gender and stress. Mate also notes how repression plays out differently across genders. Women are often socialized to prioritize others, to be caregivers, and to avoid conflict. Men, meanwhile, are pressured to appear tough and invulnerable. Both roles demand repression of authentic feelings, whether it's anger, sadness, or even joy. This explains why women disproportionately suffer from autoimmune disorders, while men are more prone to stress-induced heart attacks. Different diseases, same root of repression. Capitalism and trauma. On a larger scale, capitalist systems thrive on people ignoring their stress. A burned-out worker who keeps performing is profitable. A community that buries its collective trauma avoids disrupting the social order. Maté argues that our economic and cultural systems are structured to exploit repression. People are praised for endurance, but rarely supported in healing. In this sense, repressed stress is not only an individual issue, it's a political one. Long-term consequences. Immune system breakdown. The most immediate consequence of repressed stress is immune system breakdown. When cortisol is chronically elevated, white blood cells are weakened, making the body vulnerable to infections and slowing healing. This explains why stressed individuals often get sick after pushing themselves too far. But the damage goes beyond colds or flu. Immune dysfunction lays the groundwork for cancer and autoimmune disease, cardiovascular disease. The heart also pays a steep price. Chronic stress keeps the cardiovascular system in a state of overdrive, raising blood pressure and hardening arteries. Repressed stress is especially dangerous because the person appears calm while their body is in turmoil. Heart attacks often strike people who never seemed stressed but who secretly bottled everything up. Mate recalls patients who were pillars of their community but collapsed suddenly, victims of decades of hidden strain. The slow erosion of health. What makes repressed stress so deadly is its cumulative nature. One stressful event might not kill you, but years of unacknowledged tension slowly corrode every system of the body. Inflammation becomes chronic, immunity falters, digestion weakens, the heart strains. By the time symptoms appear, the underlying damage may be irreversible. As Maté says, when we fail to listen to the whispers of stress, the body eventually has to shout, in the form of disease. Pathways to healing. Awareness as the first step. Healing begins with awareness. Maté emphasizes that people must first recognize the ways they repress stress. This requires self-reflection, noticing when you say yes out of obligation, when you hide anger, when you deny exhaustion. Simply naming the stress breaks its invisibility. Awareness is not about self-blame but about honesty, acknowledging what the body already knows. Therapy and somatic practices. Therapeutic approaches are powerful tools for releasing repressed stress. Trauma-informed therapy helps people reconnect with emotions long buried. Somatic practices, like breathwork, yoga, or body-focused therapy, allow stress to be discharged physically. Mindfulness meditation can calm the nervous system, lowering cortisol and restoring balance. Maté himself draws on both science and compassion, reminding patients that healing is not just about the mind but also the body. Reclaiming authenticity. Ultimately, the most important step is reclaiming authenticity. That means learning to say no without guilt, to express anger without shame, to rest without apology. It means prioritizing one's own health as much as others. For many, this feels like rebellion against family patterns, cultural scripts, even personal habits. But authenticity is not selfish, it is survival. As Maté writes, when we shut down emotion, we're also shutting down our immune system. Healing is, at its core, the courage to be real. Conclusion. Repressed stress is not harmless. It is not strength, nor selflessness, nor virtue. It is a slow poison that seeps into every system of the body until the damage can no longer be ignored. Gabor Maté's work reveals a truth that modern medicine often overlooks. The mind and body are inseparable, and what we hide in one will emerge in the other. But this truth is not only sobering, it is liberating. If stress can kill us when repressed, it can also heal us when faced honestly. By listening to our bodies, acknowledging our feelings and reclaiming authenticity, we can break the cycle. We can choose honesty over denial, compassion over perfection, health over performance. The choice then is urgent but clear. Either keep pretending you are fine while your body pays the price, or start living authentically and give yourself a chance to survive, not just physically, but fully.